adults having the vote is taken for granted in Britain today, but in the early 19th century, attitudes were different. Just 4% of the adult male population could vote, and women couldn't vote at all. Parliament was controlled by the big landowners.
That's not fair.
Some people thought it was.
The British Constitution is the best that ever was since the creation of the world, and it is not possible to make it any better. There's no way to improve it. I will go further and say that the Constitution possesses the full and entire confidence of the country.
But change was on the way.
1793, France. King Louis XVI is executed by the French revolutionaries. Liberty, equality, fraternity, they cry. In Britain, the government fears the mob will topple them too. They tax the press. They make workers' unions treasonable. But in smoky back rooms in Scotland, in Sheffield, in London, radicals plan their campaign against Parliament. The seeds are sown for the battle for reform.
All right, show me this battle.
No, that was a figure of speech. The battle for reform was a slow, drawn-out process. Discussions, demonstrations.
Demonstrations then.
No shortage of choice here.
All right, I'll have that one.
In August 1819, thousands of people came to St. Peter's Fields in Manchester to listen to a famous speaker of the day, Henry Hunt. They carried banners and slogans demanding parliamentary reform.
Any first-hand accounts?
Plenty.
Any women?
Very few working-class women wrote.
Well, who's this then?
Jemima Bamford. Her account survives only because it's included in her husband's book.
Animate actor.
I was with the other women at the head of the procession. I'd heard that if we country people went with our banners, the soldiers would attack us, and I was uneasy. In a minute or two, some soldiers came riding up. People said they were only come to keep order, but I was alarmed. Then there was a shouting, a waving of swords, and the soldiers rode amongst the people. A moment after, a man passed by, without hat on, wiping the blood from his head with his hand. It ran down his arm in a great stream. I went down some steps into a passageway and sat on some firewood. And when everybody had gone, I went back to the field. I durstn't look around lest I see that which I most dreaded. My husband's corpse.
It said 11 people were killed and 400 wounded.
Whose fault was it?
It depends whose side you were on.
It's not surprising the cavalry failed to control themselves. They were totally undisciplined, led by officers with no military experience. They were frightened and, no doubt, were all driven by political hatred. So men, women and children were cut down. I can't say for sure if the riot act was read, but I do know from actual observation that not the slightest breach of the peace had been committed. Contrast. Many sorrowing families will put the blame for yesterday's events squarely on Hunt and his friends. They ignored the warnings and invited masses of people to attend their meeting. These rabble-rousers then stirred them up with fiery words. The keenness of the troops in doing their duty has led, we are sorry to say, to many serious incidents.
How can people think so differently about the same event?
How any event is seen depends on a person's background, experience, political belief.